Have you ever wanted to start your podcast but didn't know where to start? The One Set Bros are here to talk to you about Zencaster. Zencaster is the ultimate based podcasting solution and now the all-in-one podcasting platform, making podcasting easy. They've sure made it easy for us to be able to record our podcast and our episodes every week for you guys. Once you've set up your account, you're simply one click away from recording a high-quality podcast with studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. My personal favorite feature is their multi-layered backups, which ensure our recordings are always in the highest quality, even during unstable web connections. And if you thought you needed multiple tools and services for your podcast, Zencaster's all-in-one podcasting platform allows you to create your podcast all in one place and distribute to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to Zencaster.com/pricing and use our code OneSetPod, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencaster paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experience as we do with all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another brand new episode of the One Set Podcast. My name is Anthony Irvin. I'm here with my best friend and co-host, Jim Green. What's going on, buddy?
Not much, man. It is Halloween week, so we are fancying it up in our Halloween gear. Anth, you have some slick hair going on there.
I have some slick hair going. This is a whole new do.
Oh, man. Could you imagine sleep?
I might make it permanent. You never know.
I was just going to ask. I don't think you would like it going to sleep with long hair.
Man. It's fun for like the first 5 minutes, and then my neck starts sweating. I'm like, get it off. Get it off.
And today is an exciting day. This has been a long time coming.
Absolutely.
We have on our episode our good friend, our longtime friend, Mr. Matt Holland is joining us today. What is going on, Matt?
Yeah, what's going on, Matt?
Hey, how's it going? Excited to be here. Was waiting when this day would come. It's been a couple of years in the making, that's for sure. But I'm excited to be here and talk the spooks.
I mean, Halloween is like definitely like it's got you written all over it. So I threw Cheyenne that her birthday party, Halloween party, which you both came to, which once again, thank you so much for being there. It was a fun time. And I said to Anthony, I think Anthony said to me the next day, dude, we got to get Matt on with his costume that he wore. And yeah, you are wearing the same costume right now. It looks great.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Right? Like, care anyway. Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me at the party. The party was a good time. Everything looked really, really awesome. You did a great job. It was good seeing you guys again. It's been a minute, especially you, Anthony. I think it's been a couple of years probably since
It's definitely been a couple of years. I mean, it was cool, like just kind of being able to talk and reminisce in a little bit. So and knowing, Matt, that you're like a big like cosplay, like we've been always talking about all your cosplay costumes and everything, and maybe we can start off on that, discussing a little bit of the cosplay stuff. How many different cosplays, like characters, have you done since you started?
Oh, have I done since I've started? Oh, geez. Let's see if I can just remember in order. We have the first one I ever did was Green Arrow, from the show Arrow. Went to my first Comic-Con. And it's weird because like I remember being like that guy that was like, why would you dress up and go to Comic-Con? Like why would you do that? And then I met someone at work who was like, go to Comic-Con, it's so cool. And then she was like, but you got to dress up. Like if you go, you have to dress up. And I was like, all right, fine, whatever. So I dressed up as Green Arrow just because I was really into the show at the time. And yeah, ended up catching the bug, and here we are. But yeah, so it started with Green Arrow, and then after that, I was rocking him for a couple years. And the next thing I remember doing was Negan, Walking Dead Negan. That was a really fun one.
That's right, yeah.
That one was so
I remember you getting at it. That was good. That was a good one.
I like getting into character. Like I watched Negan monologues for like 2 weeks straight. just to get in the
You can get
character.
into Negan so good at just that. He's like one of those characters, like who is it? It's almost like if you're watching Sopranos for too long, you can start like acting like you're part of the mob too
Yeah.
bad. Like
That's true.
like I'll
That's
start
true.
walking around with my chest out, being like, "The you talking about?" I get myself in trouble with my wife. Like, she's like, "Can you take out the trash?" What the are you talking about? Negan's like the same way. If you watch him too much, you might start getting that little lean, and start
Oh yeah.
getting a bat to yourself. Oh my god, it's so
Oh yeah.
addicting.
The one time, not long after some relations happened with someone, uh, I happened to yell "easy peasy lemon squeezy" afterward. It just happened. I don't know. Um, but yeah, Negan was a good one. I remember wearing that to a Halloween party one time, and I challenged Joe. It was like a drinking game going on, and it ended up being me versus him. And he challenged me, and I kicked his ass. And so I have the bat in my hand, leather jacket. I'm doing the lean back and everything. And I lean up to him. I was like, "Hey Joe, let me ask you something." He goes, "Don't you talk to me." And I go, "Who are you?" And he's still drinking his beer from his loss. He goes, "I'm Negan."
Yeah.
And
Thank
he
you,
walks
Mom.
Negan.
away.
I'm
It
Negan.
was so good.
Dude, I remember I think I watched The Walking Dead like 2 years ago. Fine, like because way back when I watched up until mid season 4, like when they were leaving the prison, and then
Mhm.
I stopped, and then everyone was like, "Dude, you got to get the Negan, you got to get the Negan," and
Yeah.
I like 2 years ago just finally started from the beginning, and then watched through, and then the show's been out long enough, so spoiler alert,
Yeah.
Rick goes away like at the beginning of season 9, and they opened up, and I think he was in the first like 1 or 2 episodes of season 9, and then um he gets on the like helicopter and goes away, and then the next episode opens up like so many years later, and then the little girl's like,
Right.
"I'm Judith Grimes," and I was like, "I'm done."
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
literally stopped right then and there. I was like, "I can't
Done.
do this." Done. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
I was loving
probably
it.
did the same thing. Like it took me about a half the rest of the season, and it just started getting stale. I'm like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, I was so stoked for like Negan. I love Jeffrey D. Morgan. I'm a big Supernatural fan, so seeing him come over, John
Mm,
Winchester, I was like, let's go. Um, and they had such a good build up to him, and then the finale of 6 into the premiere of 7, such good TV.
yeah.
That
Mhm.
was when they finally kind of you see who Negan is, and then at the again, spoiler alert, but we're how many years away from it. Negan
Yep.
kills Glenn and I think Abraham. I think in
Yes.
the beginning, right?
Yep.
And
Hmm.
the such intense, like that was some of the most intense and scariest moments on the show. Um,
Absolutely.
and then everyone had to bitch about it being too gory and whatever else, and it's like, oh wait, it's a zombie show. What are you talking about?
Right. I
Anyway,
think they needed it at that point because it was starting to get a little stale, but they needed something to kind of regenerate that whole thing. And I think
yeah,
obviously that Negan thing definitely took by storm. Everybody was like talking about it, so
yeah.
it definitely
But then
helped them.
everyone,
Definitely helped them a lot.
yeah, and then but then everyone else on the other hand, who wasn't like a huge fan of the show and all that, everyone else was complaining about how violent it was and blah blah blah. Because I mean, he is bashing people's heads in with a bat, but
Yeah.
I mean, and then so they like kind of watered it down as it went on after that, and it's just like it killed the momentum because they had such a good start with that. Um, yeah, I loved the Negan character, and I'm a
Hmm.
little bummed by what they did to him. And then, like you guys said, with I think it was season 8, they killed Carl, and I'm like, all right,
Yep.
Yeah.
so Carl's dead, and everyone else is leaving the goddamn show. So
Hmm.
what am I doing here? So yeah,
I think it
Yeah.
was
I
like right at
got
the end
out
of the Whispers. I stopped watching.
I think for me it was like my favorite, like I marked out in like anyone that is wrestling fans knows marking out is like just like losing your mind over.
Mhm.
When they first utter the word Negan, it's when shoot, who was Maggie? I think it was Maggie and Abraham and Daryl were on a mission, and then they get stopped in the street by the bikers,
Right.
and then the
Mm.
bikers bring up Negan, and then all of a sudden the freaking rocket
Whoopsie.
launcher just goes off and just blows them the fuck up, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it was so good, so good. And then I was like hooked in all that. I
Mhm.
think that the dynamic of the show was like, yeah, the gory stuff was just the zombies, so it was really cool because all of the internal conflict between the humans started becoming just like politics, right? So
Yeah.
once you get to Negan and you get like gory violence between the humans, I was like, okay, that's a nice change because the only violence was really the zombies attacking. Now, granted, yeah, you
Yeah.
had Rick
Governor.
kill Shane in season
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
2.
Mhm.
But yeah, the governor stuff, I was ready for that guy to be gone. I was
He
so
was
irritated
he
by him.
was such
Same.
a hateable villain. Oh, he was so good.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Whoopsie.
love to hate him.
It wasn't. I couldn't stand him because I hated the character. I hated the
Yeah,
character, but he did a great job
he
making
was
us
supposed to
hate
be an
him.
excellent
Like, so, yeah,
character.
Exactly. There it is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh man. But yeah. So
that's my Walking Dead rant.
no, it's yeah. Ran away because I could too. But yeah. So Negan was another cosplay. Let me think. What else? There was Deadpool, which I still have.
Mhm.
Um, Kylo Ren, Red Hood for a hot second, Captain America Endgame suit. Um, just did Wolverine last year. Um, some other ones I'm not sure if I should mention at the moment. uh,
you're you're definitely forgetting the Flynn Rider one, which I brought up to you a couple weeks ago, and you're like, "Oh my god, that was so long ago. I forgot I even
yeah,
did that."
yeah. I forgot again. Yeah, that was actually from a suggestion from a friend, Victoria.
Mm.
She had like her own princess, party business or whatever, and she was like, "You would make a great Flynn Rider." Blah blah blah. Like just shave the goatee, grow your hair out a little bit more, and I was like, Sure." She was like, "You should get the costume, and then like I can book you with my Rapunzel and whatnot, and get some money." And I was like, "I mean,
Mm.
then sure, yeah, whatever." The costume cost me like $70, and then did one photo shoot, and then one appearance, and then we never got booked as a pair, and so I sold the costume. Yeah,
And,
One and
it
done.
and your
lasted
One and
long.
done.
and your
Um,
favorite part was shaving your beard, right?
oh my
'Cause-
dude, no, into that little like it was like a little soul patch I had to shave it into. Like,
Yeah, little little chin dirt, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about that one. Uh,
Because
and
you had to
then
shave the beard and you block it out.
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. Um, yeah, I think that's really it in terms of like actual full out cosplays that I can think of. Um, I've done like little like costumes here and there, like cheap ones, but nothing that I put like my
Mhm.
full effort into like those. Um, I have a
I mean, you
lot of
probably already mentioned it, but do you have like a favorite one? You probably already explained it within this little bit, but do you have a favorite one that you like? Okay, like you can't wait to get back into that one, or like when you're in that one, you're like, all right, I'm gonna definitely. I love being in this one and just
um,
being in it. It's
I'd say I have three favorites. Um, One being Captain America, just because I love the look of that suit. Um, it brings a lot of like when I do like my charity gigs and stuff like that. Like people love Cap, so it brings like a lot of smiles, makes a lot of people happy. So I like that one for
cool.
that. purpose. It's cool to be Captain America. Um,
Yeah.
and then there's Michael. 'Cause it's it's just fun. Had a lot of fun at the party with Cheyenne's mom. Not like that. And then
Shout out to Paula.
uh, and then Deadpool. Deadpool's gotta be my absolute favorite. It's just I love the suit itself. Not like how it feels, but and fits and everything, but the design of it from like even in the movie, I love how they kind of really made like something from the comic look like they made it practical and like made sense and look good and not like overly hokey. Um, so I love the design of the suit, and then also just being Deadpool um, is so much fun because I can turn off my filter and I can just let the ADHD brain that references and does whatever it wants to just come out. So yeah, it's really fun to be Deadpool, but it can also when I'm Deadpool for like the charity gigs, that's when it's I got to remember to reel it in a little bit
Right.
and not get in trouble with the kiddos around. But
So
although the one
you
time
didn't.
I was at, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No. I thought you were good. Go ahead.
The one time I was at a convention and I was Deadpool and yeah, this guy comes up. She's like, "Oh, can you take a picture of my daughter?" Blah blah blah. She was probably 12, 11. And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Like, let's go." And so I posed with her, and then he's like, "Can you take the gun out?" And I was like, "Sure, I guess." I'm like, I already like because it's my prop guns. Like, there's no like orange tips or anything like that. So like, I try to just leave them in the holsters as much as I can.
Yeah.
Because it looks legit from 10 feet away, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, but he's like, "Can you like hold it up to her head?" And I was like, "Sure." Like, so I felt really uncomfortable. But the dad's just like, "Yeah, do this. Oh, that's great. She loves it." Blah blah. I'm like, "All right, whatever. I'm here for you."
Right.
But yeah, so Deadpool's definitely my favorite to portray right now. I want to get some more horror ones under my belt for sure. I want to get a good Scream one, like an OG Scream 1 or 2. But the only thing is to get like the masks are there's subtle changes, but they've changed over the years from what was Scream 1 to just Scream 6. Just like the molds and stuff like how they
Gotcha.
sculpt the mask or whatever, it's changed a little bit. But so to get like an accurate mask to like Scream 1 is like you're looking at like a minimum of like $500 if it's in good condition.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm
Wow.
probably not seeing that ever.
No.
But
just because that mask like is discontinued as far as manufacturing is like concerned, right?
exactly. It's if you don't have one, unless someone sells it to you, you're not getting it.
Jeez.
But yeah, so that's one I definitely want to do. I also was debating on. I have the mask. I bought the mask last year, and it's just been sitting there waiting for me to paint it and maybe get the rest of the costume. But I want to kind of do the grabber from the Black Phone. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I I I heard that was a pretty scary movie, like, and that it was good. Cheyenne and I had talked about like, oh yeah, like it's on our list of like, yeah, we should probably check that out. Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's like scary. I mean it is a horror movie, but I found it entertaining. Ethan Hawke is great. Um, he does a really good job of just being a creepy mother effer. Trying to censor
Yeah.
myself for you guys here, and but yeah. So I love like just the look of his mask and everything. It's like I've always and this kind of can tie into the discussion of Halloween. Is like ever since I was a kid, I've always been like obsessed with masks and helmets. Whether it's like monster masks or Michael Myers, Jason, it's not really a mask, but like Freddy Krueger, like his makeup,
Yeah.
Mhm.
or and even to things like Power Ranger helmets or Star
Right.
Wars, whatever. Like I've just always been
Absolutely.
obsessed with cool headwear for some reason.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so like I said, have the mask for that because I thought it was really cool, but it's just been sitting there for like a year and a half now.
It's all good. I can totally understand and appreciate what you mean like about the helmet situation. Um, I think it was 8 years ago, back in 2016, was the last Halloween party that I had
Yeah.
that you both were at, and I was Pyramid Head from Silent Hill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing was
So
sweet, man. You killed that.
yeah, and I YouTubed like a tutorial of how to build the mask, and I took the time and like cardboard cutout, like made the mask, and like I've never put in so much time on a costume ever.
I was gonna say that was
So
probably one of your best costumes I've seen you in before. That was sick.
Yeah,
yeah,
that
and
was.
really the rest of the costume is just a suit, like
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
because I wasn't going to go with the toga because in the video game it's just a like the guy's in like a
He's got like
toga
a
robe
loincloth.
from the waist down and he's just topless. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going topless. Sorry.
Everybody was.
um, yeah, and then the sword, like his sword is just obnoxiously huge. So I just
Hmm.
like took a plastic pipe and a really giant piece of cardboard and cut it and painted it, and that was it. But the helmet, like the mask itself, one, it's again obnoxiously big, and I was like, how am I going to put this thing on my head? Like they had like a hard hat to template around the cardboard and everything.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was more so like, hey, check this out. But at a party, after 15 seconds, it's like this thing's coming off immediately.
Yeah.
So I literally think I wore it just like to show you guys, like, yeah, this is my costume, and then it was gone for the rest of
Yeah,
the
you're
time.
like,
Yeah.
I was just,
Literally for pictures, and that was it.
that was it, yeah. But
sometimes that's all it's for.
Hmm.
Um,
yeah, just the reveal. What
yeah.
what
I
cosplay or what costume? And it's just a question for the both of you. Do you do you think that you put the most time into? Matt, I know that that's a tough one for you because you have built a lot of your cosplay
Hmm.
costumes. Anth, if you can like chime in on like any costumes, like whether it was from when you were a kid. I know when I was in like fourth grade or fifth grade, I was like, I really loved Mortal Kombat. It was the mid 90s, so Mortal Kombat, I
Hmm.
think 2 and maybe 3 had just come out. But like I was obsessed with the Mortal Kombat dragon logo. So my sister Kim painted the Mortal Kombat logo onto a monk robe, and it was like probably my favorite costume as a kid. I was Frankenstein in third grade and had like a pretty neat Frankenstein. It wasn't just like the face mask; it was like an actual over the head mask. So it was
nice.
like it felt legit.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
it didn't just it didn't feel like a kid's costume where it's just like right here mask kind of
Yeah.
thing.
yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, any costumes, Matt? Like, what took you the longest to build, like cosplay or Halloween costume? Anthony, Halloween costumes on your end that like took you time. Obviously, the wig you're wearing
I was gonna say,
takes
other
you.
than the time it took me to grow out this hair, I mean, I would just say probably the 2016 when we were at Jim's house, me doing the Enzo More, bit because I used this herring, just did a lot of, ponytail and just
Mhm.
reconstructing it out to because I was trying to find some way to really, represent his blondish type of hair because it had like the blonde and the brown in it. So instead of me trying to just get a plain wig and then have to spray paint a whole bunch of stuff, I saw this in the, Spirit Halloween. I'm like, that's perfect. Let me just, I can work with that. And it it did its purpose. And then I already had an Enzo Amore shirt. I just took some gray thermal pants and then did some leopard prints up the sides of them. I had some old Jordans, put them together, and it was a pretty quick. And then I just drawed his microphone tattoo on my fist.
Right.
So, and then just got like a cheap microphone, so it worked out.
Yeah, it served the purpose for sure.
I would say that's the
Like,
most amount of money I put into myself for putting into like a costume.
Dude, yeah, I love that costume.
yeah, as soon as I saw you, I like knew exactly who you were, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's
Whoopsie.
awesome. Yeah.
Did you send me a snap the other day, Jim, of like that memory of me? It's like me in the basement sitting there as Green Arrow with the skeleton, and yet Anthony's over on the side as
Yeah.
friggin' Enzo, just looking wild. I was just showing that to someone at work, and they were like, "Who is that guy?" I'm like, he was dressed as a wrestler. He wouldn't get it. Like,
Yeah. I think Jen had to end up like helping with the hair because it was just again so much volume on this thing, and she had to help like place it and get all this and get all that. But once it stayed there, I had to keep it all plugged in, so it was just basically taking it off and putting it back on was the hardest because I couldn't reconfigure it every time, so I had to just keep it there, take off the wig, and then when I had to put it back on, I had to carefully put it back on so I wouldn't mess any of the hair ties or anything on it. So it was, once I got it the way I wanted it to, it was just like, okay, just carefully placing it back on to make sure it doesn't slip or anything off.
You had a fake beard too, didn't you?
I did have a fake beard. Yeah.
I was gonna say. I was like, you did not grow that in. That is a.
I actually
that
have
is a-
it. I actually have it right here. Because when I was taking this out, I'm like, wait, what's this black thing here? I'm like, oh, it's the beard from Enzo. See, I had the fake beard going too, and that was probably not as annoying as the hair at the point, but yeah, it was just weird because I had to cut. It didn't come with a mouth thing, so it was more just for like here. So I had to cut a hole into it to make sure my mouth was for a mustache, so the hair gets into your mouth and everything. I'm like, it was horrible.
So the fake beard was literally just a tiny wig, and it just hung on your ears. It was just like
it was pretty much just like a very small bearded, like for a beard, and I just made it into like a whole facial beard type of thing. So
it was like supposed to just be like an Amish beard, like just from here.
I think it was only supposed to be like down on your chin. So I'm like, all right, let me just make like a hole in there and then just kind of boost it up a little bit. And I'm like, all right, well, it works. So.
And then your fake mustache is doing this the whole time.
Yeah. Revealing the real one and then the fake one. Like, all right. Yeah, and then I'm like, all right, well, once I got all the hair out, then I'm like, all right, well, next year it's just I could just turn this into like a rocker style thing, so I can always just, I pulled out the rocker hair for the Saturday party we had, and I didn't have the headband that I have now, but I was telling Matt off air that like it's so much better with the headband because now I can actually keep the hair away from my head and it doesn't get into my eye. You can have the little like thing here and you're like, okay, all right, yeah,
all right.
Beautiful.
Matt over here with the longest locks, like you do that regularly.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm thinking, what I'm doing here, but it's here.
There's Sean Hunter over here.
I'm giving it a whirl to see how it turns out. Honestly, my goal was to have it long enough to be the Crow for Halloween this year, but that's not even happening right now. Especially once Kai said he wanted to be Wolverine, I was like, cool, I'm just going to be Deadpool and don't have to pay for anything. I'm in.
Yeah.
His costume's already running me enough money just because he's bougie now because of me. He's my kid, so now like store costumes aren't good enough for him.
Yep.
You did it to yourself, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, tacking that on to what you asked about the most time I put into a costume is probably not even my own. It might be the Michael one was a lot because of hand painting the
Yeah.
mask from scratch, and then the coveralls, and just everything was a lot. But him, I always put a lot of freaking time in. I've been showing you guys, I've been working on Wolverine for him.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah,
a year,
you sent us the pics yesterday,
yeah,
and I was like, it looks so accurate because it literally looks like Batman profile on either side looking at each other. I was
Yeah,
like,
it looks
dude,
really good.
it looks so good, man.
But it's
he's
gonna
like
be like,
Batman. He can
coming
change
from
too.
like two dads. So sorry, Matt.
No, it's fine. um, but yeah, so not last Halloween, but the one before that was when Kai wanted to be Foxy. He wanted to be Nightmare Foxy from Five Nights at Freddy's,
Mm.
and
Mm.
those costumes are like basically non-existent, or they look like crap. Like, you know how you were talking about like just the plastic mask that sits on the front of your face. It was like
I've I,
it was one of
Yeah.
those.
I have seen those animatronic masks, and they're garbage. I'm like, the only way you could pull that off is if you custom build it yourself, like to
Uh-huh.
make it look legit.
Yeah,
Mm.
so that was a lot of work. Like, it took some pre-planning starting like probably in like August. I had to like I watched a bunch of different videos, kind of gathered a bunch of different ideas of what I was going to use, how I was going to go about it, tweaked things of how I would make it work for Kai and everything like that. And basically I had to build an understructure first that would like sit on his head and then would move with his jaw when he moved his jaw. So basically it was going to be
Nice.
like a giant, so like the mouth was going to be here and he was going to see out of it and it would move. So I had to build the understructure and then plan around that, like how I was going to build the head onto it. Um, so that alone, the head took so much like planning. Plus, I've never worked with like making parts move before on my pieces. Plus, like I was working with fabric for the first time and stuff like that because I wasn't painting it. I other than like the exposed parts, I was fabric wrapping it and all that stuff because it's supposed to be that kind of like felty material. Um, so yeah, like
Mm.
built the whole head, gave him movable jaw, light up eyes, weathered the whole thing and everything. And then for the body, um, luckily he has a hook hand, so I just bought like a pirate hook off like Amazon.
Mm.
He is a pirate. It's like Foxy the Pirate or whatever. And then there was like I bought like on Amazon they have there's like hands that extend, like they look like longer hands, like almost Jack Skellington boniness to them. Um, but I got like a more clunky looking one and just put like shredded fabric on it and glued it to kind of look like a jacked up robot hand, basically. So that on one hand.
Like those old Terminator hands, like where you could pull the thing and it will like pull the fingers.
No,
Mm.
not quite like that, but I just always think of Tommy Boy anytime.
Yeah, you can't, because anyone and everyone who had that always flipped the bird with it. Like you
Yeah.
just had to.
Yep.
100%. But so
Anyway, you were saying.
yeah, no, it's fine. But yeah, so I had like I wish I could explain it a little better or show you, but that hand and the hook were the things I bought, and then for like the robot skeleton that's exposed, I just bought him like it was literally just like a spandex suit that had the skeleton print on it with like black around it. Um, and then so that was like the understructure, and then for all like the bigger like the chest piece and like the bicep piece, things like that. I just made out of foam and again EVA foam and fabric wrap. So I made pretty much the whole thing except for the hook, the hand, and then the undersuit. Everything else I made for him. So that took a while. I think
Like
I was actually
every day, basically. Yeah.
um, yeah, it was kind of like just any chance I got, I was like, even if it was like 10 minutes, all right, I'm going to spend this 10 minutes thinking of how I'm going to do this next part, or I'm going to quick glue
Mm.
these two things together, and then that's it. But Um, yeah, and especially because when you're doing something like that, like there's always crap that goes wrong along the way.
Yep.
So like you're always like, this is how I'm gonna do it, and then you do that, and you're like, oh, that didn't
Whoopsie.
work at all. Um,
Absolutely. Yep. But
uh,
definitely coming from like two dads, this is definitely something he's gonna remember. You know, later down the line. So like my dad would always like make my costumes because like I couldn't after he was making. I'm like I can't even buy a store bought costume because he was like the master of making costumes. So it's like a memory that you two will have like forever to know to be like hey we did this. And even though it's like at times sometimes it can be like how did I get myself into this, but then it's something that you and him can always just take together and just have that to yourselves. Because I even asked you a couple months back about little Anthony's gravedigger costume. I was
yeah,
going to try to
yeah,
get you to, I was going to try to get you to do the helmet, but we ran into like the acrylic painting and trying to do like the matting with it, and
yeah,
there wasn't any like structure with it that I can actually get it onto. So I'm like, I'm just going to scrap that. So we ended up just buying him a hat because usually the truckers after they're done, rotting, they'll put on their signature hats and everything. So he was wearing that this weekend. I'm like, that worked even
yeah.
more because I
It
don't
was.
think he would want to be wearing this big ass helmet for so long anyway. So I'm like, I probably would have
Yeah,
spent all
no,
that money and did
he'd
all that
probably get.
work, and he probably wouldn't even wanted to wear it for like 2 seconds anyway.
Yeah, he'd get pissed real quick, probably. He'd just be like, get this
Yeah,
thing off me.
so I probably
Um,
saved myself $30-40 anyway.
yeah, I mean, I wish I had the airbrush skills like that to have been able to do it for you, but yeah, I got very basic airbrush skills. I'm still learning. It's a very, very delicate process. Um,
Well,
but yeah,
depending on what
the
he's going to be
helmets.
next year, I might be hitting you back up. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, this is always busy. Like the past X amount of years, it's always been grind time come October for myself and Kai, and
Mhm.
sometimes Chandler. I mean, the year I built his Foxy basically from the ground up is the same year I also did majority of my Michael, aside from sewing the coveralls and molding the mask from the ground up. And then for Chandler, I
Right.
also she was Samara from the Ring that year, and so I weathered and
Uh-huh.
dirtied her dress and all that stuff. And like she wore just like pale stockings, and like I like kind of like made those look dirty and gross, and like
Mhm.
yeah. So that was a lot that year. It was fun, but then when it was over, I was like, oh my god, thank you, please never again.
Yeah.
But
So
here we
every
are.
weekend in October, it's like you're just
Constant work.
constantly working on the costumes, and then once Halloween rolls around, it's November, and you're like, okay, cool, that is done. See you next year. Like,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much like any free weekend in October is grind time for sure. And often, which I am
Mhm.
still currently doing, I'm usually working on costumes up until the day of Halloween. Um, I still have
Mhm.
I have some repairs to do on my Deadpool right now, and yeah, I'm still working on Kai's thing. Having some issues with the claws and how they're going to work out, but um, I think we'll get it in time. I ordered the base suit for him, just like off like Etsy, and then the helmet. My friend 3D printed, and I weathered that and everything. And then I'm making the gauntlets for him, and like the claw ports, like the things that go on the where the blades come out and stuff. A couple little things. The big thing is the helmet, though, which that's why I made sure I got that tackled and out of the way, because that's like the centerpiece of that everyone's going to see when he's Wolverine. Um, yeah, and I
yeah,
think that was the.
I'm hoping. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think that was the big thing for him too. With like when we were looking at the costumes, like we went to Spirit Halloween, which had like nothing somehow, and then we went to um, Party City, and he was like, "Dad, these are all kind of lame." And then and then
Well,
especially the mask, it's like it looks like a piece of yellow and black paper on his face, like
Yeah.
yeah.
So I was like, all right, no, we can do better than that. So here we are,
Well,
like I said.
ho-
But
hopefully in the years to come, he'll engage in the process of like the building with you more and more.
Yeah.
Just so
That's what I'm hoping is like to be able to kind of teach him like because I think he seems like he's interested in it and like and I know when I was younger, you know, I wish it makes sense as an adult now, like friggin' duh. But like as a kid, I wish someone would been like, yeah, like all those cool things that you see in movies and TV, like all the swords and masks and armor and whatever it may be,
Hmm.
the gross makeup effect. Someone's got to do that as a job. Like that's someone's job to just
Right.
make that stuff. And I wish I had
Yeah.
been
yep.
given that information as a child, so I knew like, oh,
Right.
like I want to learn how to do that.
Uh-huh.
I've always loved art and I've always loved movies. And so
Yeah.
like now that I've really dove in more into this cosplay thing and I've learned a lot of my own stuff, thank you, YouTube. Um,
YouTube is really great.
Yeah,
just just
seriously.
just as like a as like a how-to, just anything. Like you can just type in anything on YouTube these days and you can be the master of something, anything these days. It's great.
My dad uses YouTube for like if there's a problem with the car,
Yep.
because he used to get car manuals and just study the manual front to back and then be like, all right,
Hmm.
let's rebuild this engine. Now he's like, oh yeah, YouTube this and in 10 minutes I know what I need to do. I'm like, so
Uh-huh.
much more efficient, right? Thank
Yep.
you,
yeah.
YouTube.
Hands-on video, can't beat it.
Um, but yeah, so like I said, I wish someone would have been like, yeah, like you can learn how to do that because like being able to really combine my love of art and movies now, and like the way that I'm able to by making these props and costumes and stuff, it it's pretty awesome. Wish I could do it for a living, but you know, hobby's cool too.
And
Um,
that's all it starts out as a hobby.
yeah, true,
I just
true.
I want to get into the movies in a little bit, but I
Hmm.
definitely want to ask you about like share with Anthony and I what the Comic Con atmosphere is like on the inside, because you haven't been to one, right?
I've never been to one, but I would be totally down if I got invited or got to the chance to go to a cosplay. I would love to go because I
Yeah, so
mean, especially for me as a kid, if I always liked just dressing up. So cosplay is definitely down my aisle of like I would definitely be into it. I just never got into the point of like getting to the level of cosplay, but I love dressing up for Halloween. I mean, the point of Halloween for me is just about dressing up. I can
Yeah,
the decorating and everything is like a second part, but just dressing up and doing that and going out in your fresh costume on Halloween as the number one thing, best thing for me for Halloween. So cosplay, seeing everybody in their costumes and seeing like, oh, like how creative those things can get, this thing can get, it's always been very interesting to me. So I would love to go if I was ever if I ever had the chance.
yeah. I think the thing with cosplay too is like as long as you can find a character that like in some way like means a lot to you, whether it's temporarily or like one you grew up with. Like, I mean, still on my to-do list eventually whenever I decide to lose this dad bod is Green Ranger. Like, since I was a kid,
Mm,
I want a legit Green Ranger costume. Um, you know, anything like as long as you can find a character that like means a lot to you and that like you have fun getting into it, because that's also part of it too, is like I said, when I'm Negan, I'm Negan. When I'm Deadpool, I'm
yeah.
Deadpool. Um, so
And
that's a
that's
big
that's the fun thing about it. You can like lose yourself in like the costume. You like just like anything. Like you when you're in it, like you feel like it just transforms you, like literally.
yeah, yeah. Um, but so as far as like actually being at the cons though, it's kind of chaotic. There's a lot going on between you know just the general area of people just trying to get into the con and security, but then there's tons and tons of vendors and to
Yeah.
buy crap, and then there's big gaming areas, there's big display areas where like there might be like live painters or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And then you have all the celebrity photo ops and autograph signings, and
Yeah.
It's basically like
AI.
it's like WrestleMania Access, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
just maybe even nerdier, if that's possible. But yeah,
I've been to the tattoo convention in Philly
Mm.
before. That
okay.
was really cool. Again, you get to see a whole plethora of characters, especially, I mean, when it comes to tattooing, some people are like, "Oh, I've got a couple here and here," and then you have people that are inked
Just
top to
all
bottom,
head
just
to
all
toe.
over the
Yeah.
place. So you walk around and you're like, "Oh,
Whoopsie.
check that out!" Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just wild. And I'm sure the Comic Cons are like that too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's definitely some people like, I take pride in my cosplays, and I think I have some pretty good ones. But there's some people there that you're just like, whoa.
They spend some
Like,
money. Like,
first of all, how rich are you? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like you don't work full time if you are pulling off a costume that looks like that, or somebody built it for you and you forked over
Right.
thousands of dollars for it, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think we talked about this at some point that I'm not sure if Matt and me were talking about it, but if I were to have like the money to just splurge on something, if I had the chance, I would totally get like an OG Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles costume. I don't care
Yeah, we
which
were talking
one.
about that's how Mikey and Nick 2 came about.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, we were talking about if we had the money
Oh
just
yeah.
given to us, whatever we wanted. OG Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles costume
Yeah, absolutely. Replicas
for sure. I mean,
like the OG
My
Instinct.
favorite one was Donnie, so I would just get Donnie for sure. But
Oh yeah.
either one of the four, I would totally if just giving me the money and say, here it is, this and it's X amount of dollars. If I had that right there, take my money, I want it.
So easily,
No questions
easily.
asked.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I'd
Yeah, that.
I'd have to concur on that front. I would do the same thing
It's so
with
good.
yeah. Yeah.
And I would
And
immediately
the,
just be trying to roundhouse kick anything I
I
could.
would totally just be beating everybody up in at the cosplay. I would just be just doing. I wouldn't even know how to like move it. I'd just be starting just like nunchuck people the whole time.
Can't
I
really
would
hear
just
about
want to
the full
walk
hammy.
down I would just want to walk down the street, like the main road, with like 4 boxes of pizza. Like that's it. Just walking through Aston, like,
Yeah,
it's just another day in my life,
Yeah,
and everyone
just
just be
people at
like,
5 points looking at
"Oh
you
my
like, "Oh,
god,
that's a turtle."
it'd be amazing.
that would be amazing."
Yeah, just to see everyone's reaction, I would love that.
Yeah.
The shredder costume from that too. I think I had mentioned the other day, like
Oh my god. Yeah.
especially the second
We were
one,
talking.
which is the saw blade helmet. Need that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think that was another one we got into talk about too, like the uh the Super Shredder costume. Oh
Oh
my
my
god,
god, yeah.
that
Kevin
if you got a
Nash.
cosplay of that, oh my god, dude, that would be epic.
Yeah, I don't think I could do Super Shredder just because I'm measly 5'9". Like I feel like it would look weird if
Yeah,
I was.
you have to definitely be a tall dude. You
Um,
saw that, you would instantly just be like, okay, like I'm bowing down to you.
yeah, absolutely. But I definitely want to try a regular Shredder costume at some point. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'd
but
like to see Yao Ming be Super Shredder because he's got the ups for it. He's got the
There
height.
you go. Yeah.
Yao Ming,
Even if he
he's
doesn't know what
just
Super Shredder is, just put him in there. Like,
Just give him the costume and just try this on.
just do it
tell
for
me
me,
what.
okay? I have
Take
this amount of money
Just do
that
this
I
for
was just
me.
given. Just put it on for me.
No, I al- I always wanted to like when cosplays first became like really mainstream.
Hmm.
I was like, I wonder what I would go to Comic Con as, and then I was like, I would want to go as Paperboy from Nintendo.
I remember you
Like
Mm.
talking about that.
it's
Yeah,
like way back when, and I was like, it's simple. You get a bike. I would just need to find someone to be the freaking Twister to roll around
Yeah.
next to me. um, or just build a Twister that would just basically be my
Come along
shadow
with you.
and walk
Yeah.
around with
Mhm.
me.
Put it on like an RC car that just drives around and follows you.
Right.
Yeah, like a remote control or a Roomba. Like just put it on a little floor cleaner and have it like just.
Yeah. There you go.
You just wander into the pond.
Yeah, that would be
I'm,
epic.
I'm like, can I get free admission if my costume actually cleans your floor for you as I walk around? Like,
Right. It's a win-win. So
I'd have to stop every 3 minutes to empty it out because there's so much trash on the floor. I'm trying to
I will.
think if there were any other bigger costumes.
You
I
guys.
know. Uh, I don't. I didn't have like. I really think the Pyramid Head. I know a lot of people like the Sam costume that I just wore from Trick or Treat, but that was just it was Monday night, the week of the Halloween party, and we were like, we need costumes for this party this weekend because like Kim had invited me and Cheyenne to a friend's Halloween party. So like
Mhm.
we were like, okay, we need a costume for Saturday. And so we went to Spirit Halloween and I was like, we gotta find something. And she was like, you could be Sam. I was like, I've never even seen the movie. And then we went around the store and I was like, I think Sam is my favorite costume. I just would like to watch the movie so that I know who I'm actually portraying.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. She was like, I could just be a trick or treater and basically wear whatever I want. I was like, that's golden because then you can literally wear whatever you want and we don't have to like go out of our way to try to find something in a time crunch. And
Yeah.
it worked out. I was Machine Gun Kelly and she was Eminem a couple years ago, but
I do remember that.
she was like the green M&M candy
Mhm.
was like the spin that we put on it. So she just got a green t-shirt and put like the M, like got a felt M and like pinned it to the shirt or something. And then I don't remember what she did for bottoms, but she was like the green M&M lady. I bleached my hair blonde to be Machine Gun Kelly, and biggest mistake of my life. Like,
I remember you doing it. I'm like, wow, that's a big change. Like,
dude, Cheyenne was on board with it, and she was like, as long as you get rid of the bleach blonde hair the day after Halloween. And I was like, oh, I'm totally fine with it. And then I shaved my head the next day. She's like, whoa, I didn't. She was like, I didn't know that that's what you meant. And I was like,
well,
Yeah.
what
what
else?
do you expect? Like,
I'm not dyeing my hair back to natural color.
it's not like you can just be like brown.
Yeah. But it was funny because I just buzzed my head, but like the hair coming in was bleach blonde, and then my roots were
Oh.
coming in underneath, and I was like, wow, this looks really, really, really ghetto. and, and then I was like, okay, I'm going straight bald and just bicked it.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Which I did for a couple months, and then grew my hair in super, super long, and then
Hey, speaking of when you shaved your head, you were Heisenberg one year.
that's right.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever shaved my head bald.
Yeah.
And I never went from looking like 5 years younger to 10 years older so fast in my life than going bald and then having the Walter White goatee.
Mhm.
And I got like fake wire frame glasses from the Dollar Tree, and I was like, I look like I am 45 minimum, like at
I was gonna say
the
you
youngest.
looked at least 90 to 90% accurate of Heisenberg. Like, if you did a quick look, you wouldn't really be able to tell.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
tried
it
to
was
get
solid.
like I tried to get the legit hat that he had in the show,
Right.
but they were like
It was
$75,
pretty.
and I was
Yeah,
like,
it was pretty spot on.
it was close. I mean,
It
people
was good
knew what
enough.
was up.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can definitely tell who you were trying to
it was
make out.
close.
So yeah.
Yeah, that didn't even come to mind when I was just like going back in my memory. I just have I have one particular Halloween memory. Do you guys have like a favorite Halloween memory that really stands out?
Hmm.
I know, Matt, that's a tough question because like
Yeah.
Halloween is your thing, and you have like tons of Halloween memories, I'm sure, that are like favorites of yours for sure. Anthony, do you have one that, and I know, I think our first Halloween episode, I definitely talked about this, and I don't mind talking about it again just because it is.
Yeah, I figure we'll have a couple repeats from our two other specials that we did, but you know, there was a couple, you know, memories. I mean, I just as a kid, I'm trying to think of the couple ones I was. I mean, the typical one, you know, being a ninja. One year I was a ninja, and then what were some other ones? I think one year it must have just been like a last minute thing because I had no other thing of what I wanted to be. I ended up buying a gorilla costume and I was a gorilla. Don't know why, but when I look back at it now, I'm like, why would I pick that? But I just got the whole, and it was again a very cheap costume. You get the whole, you know, bodysuit, and you have to buy the gloves and the mask separate. Spirit Halloween, but and the gorilla costume like mask is all like caved in, so you have to, you know, space it out in order for it to actually look like a gorilla costume instead of it looking like the face was like shoved in. So I didn't really care for the mask too much, but the bodysuit and the hands were pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good memories, you know, spanning from a kid all the way up until, you know, last year. But one thing that stands out to me, I don't know if I'd say this is a good memory, but one Halloween, I was Dracula. I was
Mm.
I was young, probably like 6 or 7.
I think I was Dracula around 6 or 7 too, like when I was like
Mm.
little.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of hits those classic monsters when you're little.
I definitely did the Wolfman one. I did the Wolfman one year, like the classic, like, you know, plastic cutout one, and you know the thing. So yeah, I was definitely the Wolfman one year when I was probably around that age.
I did the Wolfman. I think I was like 24 or 25. But again, just like a suit and a wolf mask, and that was it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was Dracula, and it had started to rain that year, and my mom forced me to wear a raincoat, and I was so mad about it. So mad about it because I'm
yeah. I hated that.
I'm Dracula with my
Whoopsie
cape
with a rain
over
jacket.
top of a.
Whoopsie.
I'm dressing up a store about this, so sorry. It was a bright teal, like turquoise raincoat. And I was like, Mom, this is so not Dracula. Like, what the hell is this? Like, and like all the pictures of me, I'm just like,
Yeah.
miserable.
Just miserable. Yeah, I hated the same thing. There was a couple Halloweens that I remember. I was, you know, being dressed up, but then it was either too cold or it was raining. Then you know, my mom's like, "You're gonna catch a cold. You have to put a jacket on." I'm like, well, I have a costume on. Why are we putting a jacket on over the costume? That's the point. And I got so pissed. Then we'll just take it off before you go up to the house. Like, that's stupid. And then you know you're walking with your parents, so you can't get out of it. So you're just going up and you're like kicking everything around with this stuff on.
This
Whoopsie
sucks. I hate Halloween.
Sucks. Like, I want to go home. Like,
I hate it here.
I hate it here.
Oh,
Yeah,
man. I'm getting mad about it, thinking about it again. um,
God.
and this was, like 32 years ago.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there's that one. I remember one year I was probably like 12. So I was kind of just starting to wean out of the trick or treating phase a little bit, but not
Mm.
entirely. And then that year that was when I was like best friends with this guy Adam, middle school, and we decided instead of like trick or treating right off the bat, we're gonna just stay at his place and scare people. And
Yeah.
I was the Grim Reaper that year, but like the one where they have like the screen so like you can see out but people can't see your face.
Yeah.
I was all black, and I would just sit. There was like a lawn chair out there, and I would just sit there and totally limp. And then when people weren't paying attention, I would just slowly stand up behind them. And I got
Mm.
so many people, like parents and kids, up to like there were kids straight up, just like poking me, like, "Is he real?" And I'm just sitting there trying not to, move or
Break.
breathe or anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got some good scares that year. Like that was a lot of fun. Um, and then obviously, like Kutztown College Halloween is always a good time. Uh, and then, the past, now this will be what, 11 Halloweens with Kai. Um, we always, every year, me and, his mom and everybody, like we all collaborate on as far as what our whole group is doing. And, so we get him together with his cousins and all that. And we take all the
Mm.
kids around the neighborhood. Um,
Nice.
so it's fun doing that. We go out, we have pizza and a fire and all that stuff beforehand, and so that's a good little tradition for Kai to have and stuff. And so
Cool.
that's a good thing to do. And all the different costumes that I mean, he picks a theme. He basically is like, I want to be this, and then you're going to be that. And I'm like, sure. Um,
Sure. Yeah.
but yeah, so like doing the group thing has been a lot of fun too. Um, Yeah, so hard to really pick just one, but Halloween's always been my favorite time of year.
Hmm.
I think it's cool at least that like all of the time that you put into building, his costumes and yours, like you get to share it with like his family, with his mom and like your group of people that you guys go out trick or treating with. So they're like, they definitely have to appreciate all the hard work that you put into like making the costumes look authentic, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Um, I mean, I know for sure, like, Melissa has reached out to me before and been complimenting me on like and thanking me for like what I've done for him for his costumes and things like that. So yeah, it's cool. But ultimately, as long as he's happy with it and has a good time and whatever, that's really what matters to me the most. And so like when I showed him, he came home yesterday and finally saw like he hadn't seen the Wolverine cowl all like weathered and stuff yet. So
Mm.
he got super hyped for that.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna boast a little bit because I got it over here. So I don't know if you're gonna be able to see all that on there, but
yeah, we can sit.
Yeah.
It
Definitely
looks.
looks sick.
so
I love the coloring, like like the attention to detail. And Anthony and I, when we talk
Yeah.
about like when he talks about like music production, and I'm talking about like dancing and choreographing, and like even just as a spectator watching dances, like the attention to detail when
Hmm.
you are making these masks. And I've seen most of your work if you're posting it on social, like on your Snapchat stories or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm seeing and I'm like, dude, he like, how often are you like weathering it and then you're like, yeah, I hate it, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna repaint it again? Like how many times would you go
there,
through that?
there's definitely when I was doing my Myers mask, which has like there's a lot of detail a lot of paint layers to that and stuff like that. So I was
Mhm.
doing a lot of research, looking at different angles and trying to think of like, because I'm not trying to spend, you know, movie production money on replicating this mask.
Right.
Sure.
So I did buy some higher end paints, like latex paints for some of it, but then there was other stuff where I like to experiment and just try to figure out, okay, how can I replicate that look, but for like half the cost. Um,
Uh-huh.
so doing all that and like the amount of time I spent like researching that mask and the costume itself too and everything, I drove Chandler nuts with it. With how much I would just come downstairs and just like word vomit, like just all the that
Whoopsie.
I had learned and had to do, and she was just like, "I don't know what you're saying, but okay."
Yep. That's
But
how Jen is when I'm talking about my music. I'll just be, it's like, yeah, well, I started doing this and now I have to figure out how to connect this to that. And then, I just learned this and everything. She's like, cool. Like, you don't even care. Like,
um, but yeah,
it's
I
like,
mean,
but they do. But it's like, I have no clue what you're talking about. But okay, cool. Yeah, it's good. Like, can
um,
I go to bed now? Like,
but to answer your question, yeah, there's definitely times where like I'll do whatever it may be, and then I'll be like, "Oh, I hate that so much." And
Mhm.
sometimes it's a matter of I actually have to redo it, but sometimes it's a matter of just like trusting the process.
Yeah.
Um, like that is kind of what happened with the Wolverine helmet when I first. So I did like a black wash over the yellow to dingy it up a little bit, but the first one I did, um, it wasn't quite dark enough. So then by the time it all dried and everything, I was like, it doesn't even look like I did anything. So then I
Uh-huh.
darkened it up a bit and then did it again. But then this time it was almost like it was too dark. And because it's a 3D print, it has like all those like really thin print lines. And so some of
Mm.
it is kind of soaked into it a bit, a little too much. And so you could kind of see some of the rings on the top and stuff. And I was like, well, now that sucks. So I I I, I had to dial it back a little bit. I just kind of took some hot water and a sponge and just kind of scrubbed the best I could to
Mhm.
kind of take it back a little bit. But it definitely wants to trust the process thing because like for the most part, once I got the black wash on there and everything, and then I started doing like the hand detail weathering, like in all the seams like along the eyebrow ridge and stuff, and that's all with um, I go in with black and brown oil colors and just soil it up that way. So
Right.
once I started doing that and tying in the browns and things like that, it kind of helped balance it all out. And I was like, okay, now it looks good. Again, just like I said, it's one of those just sometimes you just gotta trust yourself and trust the process to get there.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, there's definitely some mess ups, but again, it's also just having the confidence to just see it through before you give up on it, which I'm
Well,
sure.
and especially painting, like it's going to look different wet, and then when it dries, it's like, all right, what
You'll have a
color is it?
different,
What
yeah,
color is it truly once it dries, kind of thing, and then you just have to
Yeah,
like wait and see.
yeah,
exactly.
exactly,
And then it's like
exactly.
a cause and effect type of thing where, you're trying something out, seeing what that works, and then, going off of, okay, does this work? How do I fix it up? Or if it's good, move on to the next thing. So you're always like trying to think, if you're trying out something new, it's like you're trying it until you get it down the way you want it. So the next time you can kind of get back to it quicker. So it's like when you're learning new techniques, it's constantly just like experimenting with certain things, unless you're just
Yeah, exactly.
used to doing something you're normally used to doing. But if you're constantly challenging yourself, it's like, okay, experiment, experiment, experiment.
And I think that's part of why I like doing the cosplay and like building my stuff too a lot is I've always been like a tinkerer. I always
Hmm.
like to play with things and figure out other ways to
Yeah,
do things and stuff like that.
I'm the
Um,
same way.
and so like I do that a lot, um, like with like for example like bullet holes or something like that. I need to replicate wet looking blood. but that it's going to stay there and
Yeah.
not wash away and not soak into the clothes and all that kind of stuff. Um, and so I was like trying to play with ideas because I didn't want to splurge on. There's this stuff called permablood, which can do that, but it's like it's like a higher end
Yeah.
thing. And I was like, I don't feel like spending all that money on like a thing of it and whatever. So I'm going to figure out my own stuff. And so
Hmm.
what I ended up doing was actually I just took rubber cement and then I have this it's an automotive paint. It's like an anodized red paint. It's like translucent. It's the same stuff I used to paint like my cat shield and stuff. Um,
Gotcha.
and so I just sprayed that translucent red in a cup and then poured in some rubber cement and mixed it.
Hmm.
So it tinted the rubber cement, and then I used that to put it on, and it dries, and it's there.
That's cool.
That
um, I was
that's just
surprised it worked, but
that's just brilliant that you were able to even just like think to do that, and then like just trial and error, and you're like, all right, this
it's
is
just funny because
the like it's
uh,
that's the move rather than forking
yeah,
over the money to make it look authentic. You found a way
Yeah.
to make it work cost effectively, you know.
yeah, and the only thing is I'm always just like because sometimes, for example, mixing automotive spray paint and rubber cement, I'm like, I don't know if these things should mix. And if
Yeah.
it's good, and if it's good,
Yeah.
what
Right.
it's creating. But here we are. As
Yeah.
long as they don't blow up, it's a win.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
Freaking
yeah,
house
that's
blows up,
cool.
and then the police are like, all right, so what happened here? I was painting.
Yeah.
I was making a costume. Like,
Something's wrong with the house.
Yeah.
I don't like change. Um,
Yeah, what happened to the fire? I was making blood. Like,
yeah. They're gonna be like, okay, you come with me.
yeah,
yeah.
you come with me. Can you come over here, buddy? Can you walk the straight line?
All right. Okay,
Um,
cuff him. Cuff him.
uh, so one thing for me that like I've always loved about Halloween is the movies and the TV shows, specials, and things like that. Um,
Yeah.
like it's always like it helps me get in the mindset, get the vibes. And I actually just watched the Goosebumps episode of The Haunted Mask. Watched that one
Nice.
the other
I haven't
day.
watched that in a while.
Dude, oh,
That I saw
it's
you
cheesy
post that,
goodness.
and earlier when I was like, we're gonna get to movies and stuff like that, I knew I wanted you to bring that up because I had just watched that for the first time like a year or two ago in like 30 years or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
I remember
It had been a
watching it the
long
first time,
time.
and it was so good. Where did you? Is it online or did you have to
Uh,
pay to watch it?
but Netflix has like 12 episodes or something like that randomly. They used to have all of them, but now they have like a little selection. But yeah, I mean, the Haunted Mask is always like our go-to. We do like
Well,
Haunted Mask
I
2 is
know what
pretty
I'm
good.
doing tonight, so it's fine.
Yeah, Haunted Mask 2 is pretty good. I don't know if it's on there, but like Night of the Living Dummy, that was always a great one.
That was a good one
That
too.
that is a good one.
I read most of the Goosebump books, and that's saying a lot for me because I mean I wasn't much of a book reader, and still even today I'm not much of a book reader. But there was a couple ones that I remember and be like, okay, these are keeping me intrigued, and that's like something that a lot with books, like it has to keep me entertained, and I just can't read a book to read it. Like there has to be something about it that keeps me wanting to go back. So the Goosebump
I
books back
was
then were something that I'm like, okay, I want to read another one. I want to read another one. Read another one.
Yeah, that's how I
I
was. Like
was
good.
yeah, the same exact way. Like Anthony and I have talked about being slow readers before, and Goosebump books were the only books that I was like, I couldn't wait for like the next book to come out. And
Mhm.
I think I got the Abominable Snowman of Pasadena. It's like I think it's like the 42nd edition or something like that.
Mm,
So it was
Yeah,
like one of the later ones.
yeah.
But I was like, what is an abominable snowman and where is Pasadena?
Yeah.
Like I remember bringing it to school and feeling like the coolest kid because I had the new book, the new Goosebumps
Yeah.
book,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, I think that was the only book series as a kid that I enjoyed. I mean, I tried to read the Harry Potter books, and I got to the fourth one, which is 700 pages, and I got 15 pages in, and I was like, okay, I forfeit. I forfeit. I
Yeah.
forfeit. Oh.
Same here. Like I never really enjoyed like reading too much as a kid. Like, once in a while I might pick up a book about dinosaurs or something like that. But I never like was like, I want to sit down and read a novel. But yeah,
Yeah.
Goosebumps, I could put away Goosebumps, man. I would sit there and read one in a day and be like, cool, where's the next one? Um,
Yeah. I mean, I've
I
always
still
been a.
have some of them.
Sorry. No.
No, I was just saying I still have some of them.
Yeah, I gotta see if I still have that. I'll
some.
have to check my parents' house to see if they still kept them around. I'm not even sure, but I mean, I've always
Yeah,
been like a visual person, so that's the thing. With you, you can while you're reading those things, you can envision a lot of those scenes and everything, and
Yeah.
and especially when they came out to be movies. I remember one of the Goosebump thing was like it was like a camp, but then they all figured out they were all werewolves. I forget which one it was.
Yeah.
That one was cool. I forget the name of it. I'll have to look it up. But it was like Camp something, and I'm not sure if it had werewolves in the title, but it was like Camp something. But it had the intention of it was a werewolf,
Yeah.
story. So like
I'm trying to think.
the intention was like the person got into the camp and ended up realizing like all the heads of people were like werewolves or something.
Yeah, I know which one. I can't think of what it's called, but oh, it's gonna bother
Oh,
me. I don't think it was Welcome to Camp Nightmare. I don't think that was it.
It didn't seem something like that.
I think it was Camp Anawana, and it was Donkey Lips, and the show was called Salute Your Shorts.
There you go.
That's
Yeah,
what it was. That's what it was. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
Camp Anawana.
Oh
But
man.
we talked about this before on the pod that like I've always had a big obsession with werewolves and like the werewolf transformation and
Werewolves are
whoopsie
awesome.
like I mean, and I'm not much of like a scary movie person. I don't go out of my way to watch a lot of scary movies, but there's something about werewolves and their transformation and like I've always been intrigued with it, but it scares the hell out of me. But I've always been like the Wolfman and the most recent Wolfman that came out a couple of years ago, uh you know uh American Werewolf in Paris, all of those, like just looking at the different transformations and how back then when it was like they would take the time to like shoot a scene and then cut shoot the next scene and then like with all the instead of just going CGI now and having it all
Yeah.
digitally made, like they would just do the costumes and like they would reveal parts and it would take like hours of makeup and just everything. It was, but now like they just do it all through CGI.
Yeah, I mean, I was the same way. Like, I've always appreciated just like kind of all the monsters growing up, but for me, again, like werewolves has always been kind of like my favorite, and kind of like you said too. Like, there's something like weirdly fascinating about like that it's a person, but then they
I
can
don't know
control what
what
they
it is.
turn into.
I can never
And
put something on it. There's something about it.
so then best werewolf transformation on film, what is it? What do you think?
I would probably say the American Werewolf in Paris, right?
Do you mean American Werewolf in London? Because that is the right answer.
London, yeah.
um,
Yeah, that one, yeah.
yeah,
But then
Place
again,
over in Europe, right? Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
American Werewolf in Paris was like that. I think it was like early 2000s, like sequel with all like the CGI and all that stuff. It it,
Right.
it wasn't
And then the one in
terrible.
Monster
It was
Squad is
good.
good too. But I mean, it's a quick transformation. But
And what?
I've always liked that one in the Monster Squad. That used to scare the
Oh,
whoopsie.
Monster Squad. I just watched that with Kyle like 2 weeks ago. Love that
It's
movie.
so
Again,
good.
easy 80s goodness. Gotta love it. Wolfman's got
Yeah.
nards, you know?
Yeah, so
Um,
good.
love that movie. And again, like the
I
classic
mean,
monsters, like having them all come together, and then especially like when you're a kid
Yeah.
watching that, like you're like, you're like, I'm a kid, I want to fight monsters. So like, it was like
Yep.
a perfect
Yep.
movie for me. Um, but
Like
yeah,
I could never watch the transformation part because it scared the hell out of me so much as a kid. But then as getting older, I'm like, okay, like I watched a little bit here and there, then a little bit more. I'm like, okay, it's not too bad. Then about like yesterday, I finally watched the full scene. Like,
every year you would make it another 5 seconds before you crap your pants.
Yeah. Like this year, I finally got the full scene. It's all good.
the werewolf scene in the transformation in friggin' American Werewolf in London though, like that still holds up. Like that's still like you watch that and you're like you can feel like the pain and stuff like that. And again it's all
Every
practical. So like
it's like
it's
what a
crazy how they
5 minute
did that.
transformation.
Yeah, it's a long
It's
like
at least 3
drawn
to
out
5
scene.
minutes.
Yeah, and like the way they
Yeah.
show like his limb, like his hand is stretching out.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, oh, dude, it's still
And
like
then when he
I
just
love that
he's
movie.
on
Like,
his fours, and then he just goes to his back, and like it has like, oh my god,
you got like
it's
the long, like,
insane.
oh, it's gross.
Yeah.
Definite like body horror type stuff, and really solid for its time period. Like, absolutely. And then that also went and influenced one of the greatest music videos of all time, in
Yep.
Thriller.
Yep.
Um,
Which we were
that
talking
whole
about last
opening.
weekend. Like the whole opening. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean that
Whoopsie.
scared me so much as a kid. Like
Yep.
I loved it. I was like, yeah, Thriller's on, but I'm gonna hide my eyes for the first 5 minutes. Like
Yeah.
the zombies
I
never
couldn't even get
bothered
past
me.
like the zombie part. The werewolf thing was anything, but even just seeing Michael in the zombie thing, every time just watching Michael, I would always remember the zombie, thing. So even just watching a lot of his concerts, just remembering that face of him being in that zombie outfit, I could never
Yeah,
get that out of my head.
so I could handle them doing the dance as the zombies, but
Yeah.
when the zombies are surrounding them in the
it's
street,
like
right
they're all like,
right before the and the oil is
Yeah.
just flowing,
Yeah, the oil's just flowing.
the oil's spilling out.
Dude, I can't. That part always freaked me out. The one part that got me with the zombies was that guy with his.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
It
yeah,
did make me want to die. It did.
but when the camera pans from her over to Michael and the music is the
You just got the
and it's him just standing there. As a kid, I'd have to close my eyes, and then once they were dancing, I would
Yeah,
start
it was
watching
just
again.
such a tight screen up to his face, and because it was just like
Mhm.
normal Michael, and then it's the shot of her, and then just quick pan right into Michael, and he's just like the yellow big eyes and everything. I think it's just the fact that his eyes are just bulging out of his head with that. It just made it so scary. I don't know, and people today would be like, "That's not scary at all," but like for kids in like the '90s, that was some scary. Whoopsie.
Yeah,
oh,
100%.
Um, yeah, that werewolf scene, I don't know what it was. Like I loved it so much, but like for especially, dude, when the claws come out and they split his
Yeah.
fingernails. Oh, I hate. I can watch the most messed up stuff. I love the Terrifier movies, but there's something about anything to do with fingernails or eyes. I
Ah,
can't do it. I don't. Oh God. Like oh God in Hostel. Have you guys seen Hostel?
yeah.
Dude, the part when
No, but
Ah,
spoiler,
yeah. Oh my god,
spoiler,
yeah.
chick was getting a blowtorch taken to her eye,
Yeah,
and
oh
then
my god. It's
and so her
so
eyes just dangling by the little cords, and
yeah.
they take scissors. And I remember the
And
first time
yep.
watching it, I'm like this. I'm like, she's gonna cut it. She's gonna cut it. She's gonna cut it. And then they cut it, and for like a second, nothing happens, and you're like, oh,
Wait.
and then just ooze. Oh, God.
Ah. Yeah,
Like,
dude. Yeah,
oh,
that was tough to watch at some points. Because I mean, I could do gore and stuff. I can deal with that, but yeah, that movie was like crap, that was some tough stuff to watch.
That movie was weird because like the violence also had like these weird kind of like sexual undertones at times. It was a weird movie. Definitely
Yeah,
not something I felt kind of like icky after I watched it. Like I'm like, was that
right.
real? Like
I didn't watch scary movies growing up, and like it wasn't something that my parents were like, "Oh, come on, it's Halloween, we got to watch a scare." Like that wasn't
Yeah,
like their jam at all. My dad would watch like the Halloween movies, but I was like, "Oh, this movie's from the '70s, and I don't care," kind of thing.
yeah,
uh-huh.
But I once I was like 18 or 19, I watched the first Saw movie,
Mm,
and I was like, okay, that was
classic.
gory, but it was really cool, and like the concept and the creativity in all of the missions that were like, I guess you would call
Yeah,
them, or the
mhm.
games
the
rather,
traps.
because
Yeah,
the traps,
Yeah,
yeah.
just because it's essentially like games and mind games too. So
yeah.
Hmm.
That first Saw movie is like it. I remember the first time I watched that, and you know, John
I feel
Kramer
like it
plays
was a
Saw.
game changer. I feel
Oh,
like
for
it
sure.
really it really elevated the standards for horror movies to like make storylines a little bit more compelling
I was
and
gonna say because
yeah,
interesting,
it
rather
showed
than
you
like,
could
oh,
have
you're just
it showed you could have like the gore that you wanted, but also like make a decent story with it too. Um,
absolutely. Yeah,
and yeah, like man, when I first watched that, and he just stands up at the end, and I was like losing my mind. Like
uh,
that was such a crazy twist. Like at the time, I mean, it still is one of the best twists in horror movies, if you ask me.
well,
Um,
and it's because it was a pivotal point in how horror movies were built, because it wasn't just the traditional jump scares and like, oh, you have your um like
yeah,
traditional horror villain, like
it was like a
right.
twisted
they
slasher, basically, in a way.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yep.
it made you like you had to pay attention because again at the end of it it revealed the big reveal that he was in there with the people the whole time and he was the mastermind around everything. Spoiler for everybody. I mean, I'm not sure if that's the whole 100% of the fact of it because it's been a while since I've seen the first one, but it just with a lot of those it's like you had to pay attention throughout the movie to kind of just and then the big reveal at the end of it was pretty much everything that you probably were just being missing in the movie to reveal what the whole big thing was at the end. So it definitely gave you a point where again it wasn't necessarily about, like Jim was saying, it wasn't necessarily always just about the gore and the jump scares. It was more, the storyline and keeping people entertained through a storyline, but then also having, the scariness and gore through it. But it was more along the storyline, keeping a storyline interesting within a horror movie.
If we
Yeah,
could
and
make it
that's
make sense to something that we talk about on here, how about wrestling? Like,
Yeah.
it's the same, right? Like, because
yeah,
you can watch great wrestling matches, but if it's just great wrestling matches, why do we care? Like, we
Yeah.
yeah,
we could go back and watch any great wrestling match that we want on Peacock, right? But it's the build that makes the matches feel important.
Yeah.
If that storyline is done correctly, it's what makes wrestling fans happy. And
yeah.
I think that
Like
that storytelling that like Triple H has invested in is what
yeah.
is what the new era product makes us feel like, okay,
100%.
Well,
they
because it,
get
it
it.
helps actually, and it helps the talent actually build their character. That
Yep.
Yeah.
too. And like, I mean, I'm a little bit out of touch with wrestling now. I still kind of try to keep up a little bit, but like, I would much rather go back and watch, you know, Taker and Michaels at 25 because there's that whole build up and that whole match tells a story, as opposed to watch, nothing against them. They're great at what they do, but as opposed to watching like Will Ospreay and Ricochet just go out and do 40 flips a match. Like, you guys are
Yeah.
talented, that's cool, but give me a reason to care about your 40 flips.
Mhm.
Exactly. Hmm. They're still great matches, but yeah, I mean the storyline is what carries it. That
Exactly.
was half the reason why The Rock and Austin wasn't always the best wrestler, but he was able to get you to care about the match.
Yeah.
Same thing with The Rock. I mean, The Rock was, he's
The Rock
been a
has the
good
worst
wrestler,
start figure
but
ever
the
in
chemistry between them is what made you really want to watch the matches.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like The Rock, not that he's the worst wrestler, but yeah, I mean, it was all his personality and his character that made you love. I mean, hell, the reason I got back into wrestling was because the final boss was such a good character. I was like, this is
Yeah.
awesome. Like, he's
He
just
did a good
doing
job
it.
at that, and he's not even done with it. So me and Jim have been kind of analyzing, the next couple WrestleManias on what is to be like what the final boss is kind of be elevating to, because obviously we're gonna get eventually The Rock and Cody, we're gonna get The Rock and Roman, so we have like 2 or 3 matches that we're potentially gonna see either at a WrestleMania or a future pay-per-view. But again, it's the fact that he has shifted his Rock character into this final boss where he's just shifted it into another level. Now I've never experienced a heel Rock like when he was battling like Goldberg and everybody. He was doing the
I
Hollywood
love
Rock.
Hollywood
I was
Rock.
out of
It's
tune.
so good.
I was out of tune. I was not watching during Hollywood Rock. So for me to see Rock in a true heel character, it's definitely different for me, and I'm loving what he's doing, because I've always been used to seeing the traditional Rock, the people's champ, and talking to the people, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen him as the heel, but he was still people's champ Rock and the traditional Rock character. So for him taking on this final boss persona, I'm eating it up and loving it. It's so good.
I mean, heel Rock in WWE in 2024 is just something that we would have never even thought of in a million years, right?
No,
Like,
not at all.
No,
come on.
absolutely
And it is, I think it's just changed the game entirely for everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what WWE is in 5 and 10 years from now, especially with Vince out. Like, it's just,
yeah.
it's exciting.
I mean,
like,
we
I
only
can't
have
wait.
2 more months, and we're going to be back on the road to WrestleMania. So, maybe Matt, you can
That's
come along
crazy.
with us, because last year we had a great, spring of, episodes going into WrestleMania with the Rumble all the way up to Mania. So maybe we can get Matt up on a couple episodes and, do a couple things with that too. So
I'll be down. Sure. Yeah, and I ended up going to the Raw after Mania, and first show I've
yeah,
been
that's
to
right. You were saying that.
in quite a long time, and just like, man, there is nothing like the electricity you feel like when that rock music hit. Like,
Oh yeah.
dude. And even some of the other ones, like Cody's music, like when Cody came out and everybody was singing, like that was awesome.
His entrance is so good.
Triple H, you just hear "Down," and I was like, I lost it. Like, I did not expect Triple H at all, and he was like the first one out. Yeah,
I
definitely.
was so pumped. I was hoping that Austin was going to come out, because I was there on Sunday night for WrestleMania. I was just like I was up out of my seat. I'm like, Austin's coming, and then the gong hit. I was bummed, but I'm like, okay, we get Taker, but then weeks later, it came out like Austin was supposed to be in that Taker spot, but they couldn't get a deal going with it, or he backed out or something. I forget the whole philosophy of it, but he
wanted more money, and they didn't want to give it to him.
So Taker basically took the spot, but it was originally going to be Austin in Taker's spot. So again, they were selling Austin merch at WrestleMania. So I'm like, they're not going to sell Austin merch and not have him. But then again, they kind of own a little bit of his stuff, so they can sell his stuff whenever they want.
They probably packed the merch trucks 2 weeks before WrestleMania under the pretense that they were going to have Austin come out. Yeah. So annoying, because it would have been the perfect.
It would have,
the absolute
that place would have broke
ending.
off, because that's what everybody in the section was. Everybody was like, Austin. We were just waiting for that glass to break. and then we just heard the gong, and we were all still stoked, but we're like, oh, and then we were still even hoping maybe after Taker that Austin was going to come out. Maybe it was just like a troll like thing, like, oh, you want Austin, we're going to give you Taker, and then okay, here's Austin.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but then when the match ended, we're like, oh crap, we really didn't get Austin. Come on now.
I there's still time left, man. I
especially when
think it's
teasing him.
because
especially they were teasing him. Oh my God, we're terrible at this. I was gonna say they're teasing him like on the trucks in the background and stuff, like leading up to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Whoopsie. Yeah.
I think that in the moment where everyone was like kind of predicting that big ending was going to be a thing, we all thought that like, okay, after this, The Rock is just going to be gone and go away. Like, we didn't think that we were going to be getting The Rock coming back around for another year or potentially two. Because I mean, the dude's not getting any younger, but yeah, he is still in impeccable shape for his age. Like, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there is still room left for one Austin Rock face off, and we got to get Austin stunning The Rock one more time at WrestleMania. Like, it's got to happen.
It's got to happen. I mean, and even now, the fact that they almost had a Rock and Austin face off, and that so many people wanted it, they're going to try to do it. I would like to hope, especially with how Hunter is, he knows what the people wanted to see. So he's probably thinking, okay, we got to eventually get that in.
Yeah, agreed. So do you think they're going Rock and Cody or Rock and Roman first?
I think Rock and Roman is the end all be all. Once that happens, The Rock is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we get Rock and Cody first.
Because I would feel Final Boss is like the top of the totem pole for Roman, so he definitely has to end with
to become
The Rock and Roman,
the tribal chief.
I think that the whole thing with the Bloodline 2.0 with Solo running it, he's just like the physical person in place, but it's actually The Rock that's been telling him what to do behind the scenes all along. And then I like that's
a good call.
That's just my take on it. And because they're talking about maybe doing Roman versus Solo at WrestleMania, and I'm like, that isn't a compelling match, but we're gonna get we're getting the War Games match at Survivor Series between the two bloodlines. Like Roman and Jimmy and Sammy just reunited on Friday night. It's just a matter of, are they getting Sammy back into the mix or not?
Well, tonight on Raw, they had Jimmy and Jay outside the building, and Jimmy was kind of shaking his head. Jay comes in. They show the camera that Solo and Sammy were speaking outside of the stadium. So now it's like, okay, is Sammy kind of siding with Solo? Is he kind of just getting information? So they're going to play that card for a little bit.
So if they have Solo and Sammy on camera, Sammy is joining the Roman bloodline. Yes,
and I think they also had a skit or a little moment where Jay and Sammy were talking, and he's like, skit? "Hey, I was a little skit that I'm just looking out for you. Are you really going to go back to Roman after everything he's done to you? Blah blah blah." So, eventually, I think you're going to get Sammy coming back to the Roman side, but he's going to they're going to play it out. At this point, we got Survivor Series at the end of next month. We got 4 weeks. Sammy could be the fourth contender in it if they're really trying to get another person, but I would probably think it's just going to be Jimmy, Jay, and Roman on that side. And maybe you get Sammy at the end of it, but I don't think he'll be in the actual match. You never know.
It's tough to say. I think there's a lot of TV left to get us there.
There's still a lot to go at it before we kind of see what's going on. Yeah.
It depends because they're doing Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia this Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
which I actually haven't really been paying attention because I'm like, the Saudi Arabia shows usually don't have huge implications on like the overall story. I think it's usually just a side quest for everybody, and then they get back to where like what they were trying to do.
Yeah, the biggest thing is just that crown jewel belt, and that's it doesn't even mean anything. It's just a belt for crown jewel. So
And yeah,
that's
it's
like the biggest thing they're selling with it.
It's the 2024 Crown Jewel champion, and then next year they'll do it again with two different people. And,
yeah.
Yeah, and again, they come back and they can talk about that they were the Crown Jewel champion on TV to make it try to feel important. Any smart fan knows it doesn't matter at all. So it's like
not at all.
but
yeah, is there anything? I mean, I know we've been doing a lot of Halloween talk. Is there anything that we missed before we try to wrap things up here?
I had like a couple of other things, but they're real small.
Yeah.
I was gonna. Do you guys like chocolate candy or like sweet candy better?
I'm definitely more chocolate than sweet.
Yeah, I am too.
If it had to pair with like one than the other, or like one or like, because I would definitely take chocolate before sweet. I mean, I don't mind sweet things, but I mean, I'm more of a chocolate person. Has to be definitely chocolate before sweet.
It's tough for me because I also really like sour things like Sour Patch Kids and stuff like that. Love those.
Sour Patches are good.
But I think like my go-to is what I would probably consider the staple Halloween candy of Reese's.
Like, easily, it's my favorite.
Good.
It's my favorite.
Whether it's Reese's Cups, Reese's Pieces, Reese's Sticks, whatever it may be, give me the Reese's.
Yep, those are the first thing to go for me.
I think my favorite thing about trick or treating as a kid was once I was old enough and like going with my friends in the neighborhood rather than like my dad was taking me around because my mom stayed at the house to hand out the candy. I think my favorite thing was once I started like going out on my own was knowing whose house to skip because they gave out absolute trash.
Yeah.
I'd be like, nope, just skip them entirely. And then I knew the houses that gave out like the actual big candy, and I was like,
yeah,
let's hit them last and call it.
Yeah, once you were old enough to know who's going to give you the big prizes, the big pieces of candy, I'm like, okay, 2 pieces, I'm done with that stuff. This dude's giving me a whole bar of like Reese's. I'm going to go over there. Yeah.
Did you guys ever have houses that like you didn't want to go up to because like you were too scared of them or anything like that?
Absolutely.
I mean, definitely neighbors that like you didn't necessarily know or see like ever, and their house is like pretty dark, but their light might be on, and it's if their light was on, it's like, yeah, I think we can just skip this one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna skip this one. Yeah, nah.
Yeah, there was this guy back when I was growing up in Aston. This dude, he would do up his house, like had the whole front yard decorated and everything. And then he would have a strobe light flashing on his house, and he would just be blaring the Halloween theme. And he would just be standing out there as Michael Myers with the thing of candy next to him. And nobody would go up. Nobody.
Nope.
Like, especially at that time, like it wasn't like there weren't that many like good Michael Myers costumes out there.
Right.
And so like this dude looked pretty legit, and like, yeah, we were like, nah, that guy, we're gonna go over here.
Yeah. Any houses that had like their own like built-in, I'm not sure. Have you guys like in your areas had like any houses that had like their own makeshift like haunted houses before you got up to the house to get a thing? You had to walk through like their makeshift haunted house.
Yes.
Yeah.
I never went through those. I'm like, nope. I'll go to the next house and get candy. I'm like, nope. Just give me candy. I don't need to be scared.
When I was older and going on my own with my friends, and like my older sisters would say, "Oh, you gotta go to this place. It's so cool." I was like, "All right, if they're saying it was all right, I'll definitely check it out," kind of thing.
No, but I'm still like, no.
No, you're still
no.
You're still like, yep, I'm gonna crap my pants. I can't do it.
Yeah, I'm no, I'm okay.
Yeah, there was one house a couple streets over that we wouldn't hit until like on our way back to the house when we were making
Mm-hmm.
like the loop.
Mm-hmm.
That like you'd walk up their driveway and then through their carport that was all done into their backyard, which was all decorated, and
Yeah.
then you go into their like family room through their back slider door, and it was all done. And I was just like, yo, y'all go out like all out,
Right.
and it was like I
That's
don't.
awesome.
Yeah, that was really nice. My cousin's boyfriend, now husband's parents, we would go to their house when I was like not trick-or-treating, when I was like, I don't know, 16, 17. I would go over. They would always do their garage up, which was really cool because like the door was lifted, but inside it was like caution tape and like strobe lights and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
smoking cauldrons, and it was, yeah, like they did a really nice job. Um, yeah. Other than that, any Halloween costumes that you can remember that stood out that you've seen in the past? I know one from childhood because Aston Elementary used to have Goosebumps night for the kids,
Okay, I remember those. Yeah.
and I'll edit this guy's name out, but came in. He was like 8 years old, and it was the first time seeing anything like this because the internet didn't exist yet. The year was like 94, 95 or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. um he had the whole get up where like um his mom had built like a torso and shoulders up over, and then built the arms out to be holding his head on a plate.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I mean, I just saw something like this yesterday on the internet where like a dad did it for his daughter, and he's like, look how quickly I can just chop this up and make like just makeshift it. And
Right.
it
Yeah.
literally it reminded me, I hadn't thought about it in years, and then that just popped in my head. So that's elementary school. I was Jeff Hardy at the Northley Middle School Halloween dance
Nice.
in
Mm-hmm.
7th grade. Literally just had these huge like cargo pants, which is what he
Mm-hmm.
wore, and I took like black electrical tape and just wrapped it up my arms, and then I had like a blonde wig. And I just remember this punk ass kid in 6th grade just yanked, yoink, like my wig right off and just dropped it on the ground. And he looked at me like, what you going to do about it? And then like, I just stared at him and I was like, I'm going to pick this up and walk away.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Get
Yeah.
on the table.
Get on the table. High school, I don't remember anything really standing out. I
I didn't really do too much trick or treating in high school, but
high school, no, college. While I was in college, while I was in, yeah, it was my first year of college. I wasn't at college because I was commuting, but I happened to grab a mask from my basement and sneak into my neighbor's front door and crawl through their living
I
room
remember
and
you
hop
talking
up.
about that.
Yeah, hopped up on their kitchen counter. It was just the mom that was home alone. I could hear her on the phone. I saw everyone's cars were gone and they had the front door wide open. I was like, I'm gonna go scare the living
Whoopsie.
out of this neighbor.
Oh my god!
It'll be a
I
fun
remember that
prank.
story.
And I perched up on the counter. I had this all black unitard from a dance, and she's on the phone. I'm perched there for a solid 10 seconds, and then she just kind of peered over and saw me, and she screamed. She's on the phone. She's like, oh my god, who is that? Oh my god, and I'm just staring at her like a gargoyle. and then she's like, she just sat there paralyzed. She's screaming on the phone, and then I just hopped down and I jetted out the front door, went back to my house, and then I changed into just like normal clothes. Everybody rushed home, like my neighbors, all of their friends, My one neighbor that was a grade under us had a baseball bat, and I was like, "What's going on?" Like, I came outside, I was like, and then the one guy, the one friend of my neighbor's was like, "Dude, I'm not going to tell anyone, but was it you?" And like for a solid 5 minutes, I was like, "No, I don't even know what you guys are talking about." And then like it started getting serious. So then I finally told him like, "All right, it was me." And then he just shouted at everyone, "It was Jim. It was Jim." And I was like, "What the fuck, man?"
That's so funny.
Yeah,
That's
that's like my favorite like memory of like a thing. And there was no ill will. The father was away for work, which I was like, all right, if he was home, I definitely wouldn't have done it. But never got heat for it. I was actually like really cool with my neighbors at that time, so it was fine.
Yeah, you got to be pretty cool with your neighbors in order to do something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But as far as costumes that I'd seen out, I was in Westchester at Kildare's for like a Halloween party. It was on Halloween. I think I was 27, 28 maybe. And there was of course, a costume contest, and the person that won it was like a shoe in. Everybody knew he had to win. He better win, or everybody would leave.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy. He was the Skittles Pox guy from the Skittles commercial.
Yeah,
And he had Skittles taped all over, like glued to his face. And I was like, dude, that is just sheer brilliance. It was so good.
Yeah, speaking of the costume contests, I remember at Barnaby's one year we were doing the Thursday night hangout spots, and we were doing the costume parties, and I was James Hetfield one year, and in comes in a dude, and he was dressed Gene Simmons.
I was gonna say, are we talking about the year I lost the costume contest because the real Gene Simmons showed up?
Yeah, I think you were doing Michael that year. I'm like, all right, you're definitely gonna win because you had like the costume, and then Gene Simmons walks in like, sorry, Matt, I think you got screwed over this year. So
he spit a fireball. How could I get that?
Yeah.
Also, who let him spit a fireball inside the building? But
did not expect that, and yeah, I'm like, yeah, he won.
I was so mad. I was like, all right, well, there goes my chance, because
at that point you got to kill somebody, Matt. I mean,
I literally just got to bash someone's head in with my bat. Like, that was insane.
Oh, that's right. You were Negan. You weren't Michael. You were Negan.
Yeah.
You were. Yeah, okay, yeah, because I remember you weren't Michael, you were Negan at that point. So even then, we thought like, okay, dude, you got this one. I mean, you got the whole get up, and then we saw Gene Simmons come in. I'm like, all right, you got a competitor. And then when he did that, we're like, all right, he won. I mean,
yeah, he already looked great, and then had to be super extra about it. Like,
yeah, like come on, dude.
It was awesome.
The absolute cheat code of the century.
Yeah,
literally a guaranteed win at that point.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the same thing, so I'm glad you brought it up. That was
that was definitely the first time I've been in the presence of any like Kiss costume. So
and
seeing that was pretty cool.
That guy nailed it. Yeah,
that was pretty cool. So I'm like, all right, that'll be something I'll definitely remember for a long time. So that was pretty cool. So I got a little picture with him too, being James Hetfield, and so that was pretty cool. I'll definitely remember that for a little while.
I remember being in Barnaby's one of the years on Halloween, and someone across the bar was just sitting there by themselves in a full-blown Green Ranger costume. Like, and it was like legit. And I was just like, that is so freaking awesome and so unfair. I am incredibly jealous right now.
Like, you want to change outfits?
Like you said, Matt, like that, if like if I had a physique, I would definitely want to be a Green Ranger for sure.
Oh yeah, there was.
Oh man, could dream,
back,
right?
a few years back. I mean, more than a few at this point, I guess. But Kai wanted to do Power Rangers for Halloween. But he does, at least before, he would do this thing where he would say what he wanted to be in like March, and then just change his mind like 6 times leading up to it. So
Yep.
finally, I'm like, all right, well now I need to actually know what we're doing so I can get things. So,
Right.
but yeah, he picked Power Rangers one year, and I started to get the pieces together for Green Ranger, but then he changed his mind. But so luckily, it was like I could still cancel the stuff I had ordered and
Mhm.
whatnot. Because I was like, again, as I do, trying to like go extra with it and like have it be like a legit Green Ranger costume, not like something from Spirit Halloween.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so I was stoked to do it, but also like I don't want to have to work out a lot to try and look good in this spandex.
Yeah.
It is a major commitment, especially in our age, in our late 30s, to be like, okay, I want to transform my body. It is definitely doable, but
Same reason I
I
don't do
mean,
Spider Man.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
okay, I did Spider-Man the one year, and I was doing a backup gig for
Yeah, yeah,
um Jeff and I. Were we started the gig as Clark Kent, but we had the Spider-Man costume underneath.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Now,
Yeah.
granted, it was like a puff costume, so it had like the
yeah.
muscles like built in for it, and I was like, all right, I could get behind this and pretend it is Halloween after all. Um, but it was fun, except the venue that we were performing in was a circular stage in the middle that rotated. So we were doing, I think it was like a 15-minute set. So there was an audience all around us, so there was no back for us to like go hide behind and change. So we were like, okay, how do we discreetly get rid of the button up and then put the mask on? And he was like, dude, just do it as fast as you can. I was like, fine. So then I think it I think we did
Fine.
fine. I think we did the first like two songs in the Clark Kent gig. I think we wore the glasses for the first one, got rid of the glasses for the second one, and then I don't know if we took the shirt off and had just the Spider-Man costume on, like the Spider-Man top on. We didn't ditch the pants because you'd have to take off your shoes, drop
Mhm.
pants. I mean, we had like it's a one-piece suit underneath,
You
but
should
we
have
were
wore
like, all right,
tearaway
let's just
pants.
rock the
Right.
tearaway pants.
Yeah, that'd have been the
Oh,
ticket.
that was we bought. I think we bought those costumes at the Spirit Halloween in Cherry Hill. We went over to rehearse with her at her studio over there, and then we left, one across the street, grabbed the costume, and then we're like, yeah, let's wear these like for our outfits on stage tomorrow. Um, so that was fine. No, it was fine. I think the second to last song we did with the Spider-Man mask on, but then the last song we took it off because the last song was like Catch Me I'm Falling, her like hit single type thing. So we were like, all right, we should probably not wear the masks for the last one. But then we we left because I think we performed at like 8, but it was in Long Island, New York. So we left around 9, got back to Philly at 11, and then we went out like in Philly, like in our Spider-Man gear, because it was like the weekend right before Halloween.
Mhm.
Um, so that was fun. I think I went to Barnaby's as Clark Kent that year with the Spider-Man underneath.
You did, because I think you met me and Janet Barnaby's that one time.
Yep,
So yeah, so I
that
remember.
was
Yeah,
that. I'm pretty sure it was the same year
yeah.
because Barnaby's would do.
They would usually do their costume contest. It was that Thursday of
if Halloween was like that week, they would probably do it the week before, and I think they would do it again like that same Saturday as well. They would do it usually like
Yeah,
the week before. If it didn't fall on the same week, they would do it the week before or something.
yeah. Well, back when like their Thursday nights were like the Thursday night attic was um like a huge deal. I think they would do like
Right.
the costume contest on Thursday night, but then like they would do like everyone would just go there on Halloween dressed up, and I think that we went
Yeah.
for or something like that. But yeah, that's anyone else memories like before we wrap up like all that. Do want to talk about movies before we get out of here. Matt, you are like the movie guy, so why don't you jump into this? Like, I mean, do you have a number one? I think you told me what your number one favorite was a few days ago, but
Yeah, I mean,
have at it, man.
I'm wearing the shirt right now. I mean, that's Mr. Stu Macher, and his mom and dad are going to be so mad at him. But yeah, I mean, Scream it's not really a Halloween movie, but it's a horror movie. It's definitely my all-time favorite. I don't know what it is. Like, again, I guess bring up this memory. It's not a Halloween memory, but the first time I saw that movie, again, bringing up Adam Lovelace, I was sleeping over his dad's like girlfriend's place, and they were going out on a date, and her daughter was there with like I was 11, um, and then so his or her daughter was like the cool older like stepsister or whatever, and she was hanging out with her friends, and she was like, we're going to Blockbuster, um, which that alone shows how old we are, but
Right.
so, she's like, I'm going to Blockbuster, do you guys want anything? And Scream had like just come out not that long ago. We were like, Scream, like, let's go. And then so she got that for us, and we put it on. We were watching it upstairs, and it's the opening scene with Drew Barrymore, and it's like the first time I've seen it, and the calls are happening and the scary shit's happening, and like the second the phone rings in the movie, like after a couple times, the phone rings, and then the phone rang in the room we were in, and again, it's like the dumbest thing, but like as a kid, just the timing of it all that scared the
Yeah.
crap out of me. I was like, "What the hell's going on?" Like, pure
Right.
coincidence, but it scared me so much. I mean, I still remember it. So, but yeah, I absolutely love Scream. Love the cast, the characters. From the opening scene all the way to the reveal at the final act and how that all plays out. Um, you know, gave me my all-time favorite final girl in Sydney and Nev Campbell. Now, close number two is probably Sienna from the Terrifier series. She's definitely climbing up real quick. But yeah, I love Scream, and then also like I mean, my other go-to is the original Halloween. I've been watching that since
Yep.
since I can remember.
That's my number one.
Which
Yeah,
I just watched all the way through for the first time 2 weeks ago. It was like the first Halloween. It was like the first time we felt like, all right, let's watch something. It's Halloween season. Let's go. And I was like, all right. So Cheyenne put it on, and I was like, it was really cool to like finally be able to say, all right, I finally can cross Halloween off my list, and I appreciated it for the 78 nostalgia and the way movies were built. And sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm just kind of tagging along with you here, but yeah, I mean yeah, I mean there's so much to love about it, from the score to the simplicity of Michael himself, and the simplicity of the story originally. The original story of him just being this random, unknown, unmotivated evil. They just don't know what or why he is. He's just suddenly this 6-year-old kid just killed his sister, and no one knows why. And he didn't talk for 15 years after that. And he goes out and just kills more. And just so much about that movie. Just it. There's some things that don't quite hold up as well, but for the most part, like that movie's timeless. Um, Absolutely, always a
I
go-to,
agree.
and something that I really love about it, and the Halloween series in general. Not all of them, but like the first one, I'd say 4, 6, and then even 2018 is they set up really good like Halloween and fall vibes and ambiance. And like I like it when a movie can really immerse you in the setting that they're trying to present, especially when it's like a Halloween or holiday themed. Like I
Yeah.
love the movie, like the horror movie Krampus for Christmas, because like I like Christmas horror, and like it really makes it makes it feel like
I've seen
Christmas.
that one.
And
Hmm.
It's
like
good.
that's a really fun one. So yeah, just the way it's able to build the atmosphere and make it feel like it's Halloween. I mean, you can throw it on in you know April and it feels like Halloween. So yeah, so those are definitely my top two go tos, and honestly, depending on the day, might flip flop which is number one. So
Anth, you just watched
It,
Halloween again last night, didn't you?
I just watched Halloween. I try to do the whole Halloween, like, you know, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, H2O. I try to do the whole series, like, no matter what remakes or anything. I try to get a
yeah,
lot of them in because that's like my biggest thing. I'm really big on Michael Myers, and like just pretty much everything Matt was just saying is the reasons why I like Michael. He's always been something like I watched it at a young age, didn't know anything, I didn't know the title of it. Just it was one of those things you're flipping through the channel and you just see like the ending of the original, and he's coming down the stairs, trying to get Laurie, blah blah blah, and it's like I don't think I watched the full thing for a little while for those couple years, but I kept going back to that same ending, and it was just something that sparked like, okay, this is like a weird movie, but I kind of like it. And then you end up like, okay, this is the movie. And then, even more like a couple years ago, I started really on YouTube getting into, the backstory behind Halloween and learning about this and learning about that. And it was cool for me to figure out that John Carpenter and Deborah Hill actually lived in Haddonfield, New Jersey, hence why Haddonfield, Illinois was made in the movie. So I'm like, okay, well, that's close to home because, Jen is from Haddonfield. So I'm like, all right, well, it's kind of cool to just see the connection there. And knowing that, like, they all had a very small budget for, like, a very small independent film, and just everything that, down to them picking out the mask to doing this and doing that. Nobody knew, obviously, how big the movie was going to be. It
yeah,
actually
they
was
didn't know what they were doing. They were just winging.
the movie flopped. The movie flopped in the beginning. I think it didn't hit until a couple years later. I think it took maybe 2 or 3 years for it to really pop, and that's what made them make H2. So
Um, yeah, because H2 came out in '81, I think it was.
I think,
Um,
yeah, like 81, 82, something like that.
but
So it took a little bit for them to, get to H2, but then, you get into them like really getting into the storyline about Michael, and that's where everybody's like, oh, well, they should have just kept it like they don't know the reason why he's doing everything. They should have kept it that instead of linking it to, oh, it's Laurie's, brother, blah blah blah, and all this stuff. But I mean, again, I didn't really care. I always liked watching H2, and it's just
yeah,
something that I always feel it's how people feel that like they have to do something that it's not Christmas until they watch or do this thing.
yeah,
It's not Halloween for me until I watch Halloween.
yeah, that's fair. And I'm right along with you where I kind of like I don't really have like a preferred timeline because now there's so many of them. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love I love the original H2. It's a lot of fun. I it's got some gnarly kills. Like I still think that the hot tub drowning kill is still like one of the best in the series. Like
Yeah.
Like
So
that
good.
Shut up.
Yeah.
it scarred me. Like as a kid, like seeing that, like when he pulls her up and her face is all like
It's just
falling
all,
apart,
yeah, the skins are
I
starting to
was like,
rip
"It was
off.
sweet,
Yeah. Whoopsie.
but gross."
Right.
Like, um, yeah, man, like that one, and then I mean, Halloween 3 is what it is, but then Halloween 4, aside from Michael looking like a tax accountant who's trying to like squeeze in a fart with his mask, um, like aside from that, like the movie itself is good. It's just the look of Michael brings it down a bit for me.
Hmm.
I
Me,
just thought it
obviously,
was
me
always
being
crazy
me.
how they never. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, me being me, like I'm all about the look, the costume, the mask, and that's like the
Yeah.
one thing that holds back that fourth movie. If you
Yeah.
could take the look of Michael from one and put it into the fourth movie,
That probably would have been
arguably arguably the
the.
best sequel to come out
Uh
of
huh.
the franchise. Um, it's
I
that they
just don't
really
know
made that
how they
mask.
didn't like think, okay, let's preserve this first one, even though if we don't think this is gonna be something, we made something that's gonna be memorable to us. So you would think they would have preserved that mask and
Yeah,
then, even made like a duplicate after that or something. But like
something. Make it look kind of
nobody
look
thought to
different.
think about like, hey, let's go back to the original and like, because I mean, people now are still getting like the Kirk mask. I mean, even if
Yeah,
it's not the original, they didn't think in 4, 5, and 6, like, let's just go back and get a Kirk mask and just do it like the way they did it. No, we're gonna
yeah,
make a mold of whoever that actor is and just do it then.
yeah. Like I don't
Like
know where that mask came from. I can't remember. I feel like I should know more about that. I feel like there was something where like it was it a
I,
Shatner mask, and then
I
something
I know
happened
one
where
of
like
them they
they
took
took.
like a mold of the Shatner and then something else, and it was like, so it had a little bit of Shatner in there, but they had a mold of somebody else too. It was like a combination of two
And I
different
think
masks
they
or something.
yeah, and they left on like the eyebrows and stuff.
Yeah, like
Like I and what
spare me.
pisses me off is if you look at the cover to that
Whoopsie.
movie, if you look at the
Yes,
posters and the
it's
box
the
art, it's the original
whoopsie.
mask.
Yeah. So if they troll you when you watch the movie, you're like, did I buy like the B side? Like,
Yeah,
you're like,
like
what's this? Whoopsie.
why did Michael get his mask off a Wish in this one? What's happening?
Right. Like what's that site now? Timu? Like I bought Halloween off of Timu. Like
Yeah,
Wish.com. Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
and yeah. So like, yeah.
I
So
mean, we can
I
go off
really
this
like.
for a couple hours, but it's just nuts.
Yeah, I like 4. 5 is not that good. I I watch it, but like I think 4 sets up a much better story than 5 tells.
Yes.
Um, and then 6 just goes off the wall with like the Court
Yeah.
of Thorn, and then we got Paul Rudd. Not, I love Paul Rudd, but he is not very convincing in that movie at all.
He
Um,
was not in his best acting spence at that point. Yeah.
no,
He was not the
um,
Paul Rudd that we know now at that point.
no. But I love H2O like for its own thing. Like I love
Mhm.
watching if you just watch like 1, 2, and then go to H2O and then call that as the end. Like Laurie, I like that version of Laurie better than the Blumhouse trilogy of like Sarah Connor Laurie that we got. Um,
Mhm.
but like I think like the way she's like dealing with the PTSD and like and then just the definitive, it's not the best looking Michael and not necessarily the best Michael performance, but it's not bad. Um,
Right.
again, I could get into the masks and the costume for hours about this one because this one's a
Whoopsie.
show. There's a
Mhm.
CGI. There's a CGI mask at one point. Like it's terrible. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, like in the definitive ending, Jim hasn't seen it, so I don't want to say how it ends. But if you
Yeah.
call that
Thank
the
you.
end of
Thank you.
the timeline and of how Michael is finished.
I do remember what you were saying about the CGI mask, and yeah, that again, not going to spoil it for Jim, but yeah, I remember you were saying, and in that movie, yeah, you could definitely tell it's like a little
It's
bit
one
like,
of those
hey,
things
it's
like once you
different.
see it,
little
once you
different.
see it, you can't ever unsee it, and
Yeah.
it stands out like a
Whoopsie.
sore thumb.
And I've seen it in the behind the scenes, and now when I see it, I'm like, there it is. Like,
Yeah, it's pretty terrible. But the movie itself, it has like kind of Scream vibes to it and stuff. But again, so like I don't mind that.
yeah,
But screw Resurrection and most things about it. There's a couple good things, couple decent kills. It's definitely a product of its time for like, that was like around like the MTV reality shows, like it was all huge. So like that was like the
yeah.
gimmick they went with. Let me
I
get
would definitely feel out of
Busta
all of them, that was
Rhymes.
definitely the money grabber movie. That they're like, oh, let's just get another Michael movie out there to just get a Michael movie out there.
Yeah, uh, and we got what we got with Busta Rhymes and shocking Michael in the nuts and
And Tyra Banks, yeah, like come on now, like
all kinds of stuff. That movie,
Come on, son.
hot
yeah, come on,
garbage,
son.
hot garbage. And then we had the Rob Zombie remakes. First one, pretty decent.
Yeah,
Could do without the R scene. I won't say the word. And then
Mhm.
the I don't really care for like I liked it when it first came out, but the more I watch it as I get older, like the more I care less and less for like the first 30 minutes when we see like how it's just like white trash and all that. Like,
yeah,
and then the second one, I'm like, what are we even doing here?
yeah. I just don't like how they in the second one they went in a totally different left field near the end of the movie. I'm like, all right, now this is getting ridiculous. Like,
Yeah, I'm like, this
like
is a story about this
stick to the same,
traveling
stick to the old crab cake here.
Yeah, and then just everything with like the white horse and his mom and all that. Like,
Yeah,
I
it
was like,
totally
I've
went
never,
like full Rob Zombie at that point. I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
I was like, I've never done like psychedelic drugs, but if I had to guess what it's like, it's that movie.
yeah,
It's just
I
so
would
out
agree.
there.
Yeah,
So
And then
the
we get to
writers were
Zombie
high
Explosion.
when they wrote the movie, is what you're saying.
I mean,
hi,
possibly.
hi, hi, hi.
Um, but yeah, I could ramble about these movies for forever.
Yeah,
But
me
yeah,
too. But I mean, again, it's nostalgia stuff, and I can't like say it's Halloween until watching at least the OG and a couple other ones, and
for
I
sure.
still got Halloween 2 that I want to watch, and I probably will watch 4. I mean, and
Yeah,
if I can get to watching one of those trilogy ones, I'm gonna be keeping an eye on like sci-fi and all those other channels, see if I can get one in these next couple nights. But yeah, I still got a couple Michaels I got to watch this week. But dude, Jim, and I think we can probably wrap this up here. Matt, thank you for joining us on this
thanks
special
for having me.
Halloween edition. Absolutely, man, and definitely, more than welcome to come back anytime. I'm sure, Jim can agree with me. Jim, is there
Yeah.
anything we can get to before we head out of here, man?
Thank you, and Matt, especially for jumping on. I know this is very new for you, and you weren't.
Yeah, hopefully I wasn't
Hope you
too
don't mind,
boring.
You're perfect, bro.
dude. I know you, and I hope you don't mind me putting this out there that you were nervous about it. I was nervous my first time too, and this is all it is. We just come on and chat and have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
All
all
right,
for tuning in, and
did
anything else, everybody?
Anything else here?
you guys hear that?
No, is something wrong with your mic or?
No. I usually keep that door locked. I don't know. Some weird
Whoopsie.
going on. Let me go check it out.